And then he had to be like, excuse me.
That
And I'm like, oh my
excuse me.
God, hey, huge fan. And he's like, hey, I'm about to go outside and smoke this spliff. Like, want to join?
No way.
Yeah,
Get the fuck out of here.
know.
I'm not believing this anymore.
It's crazy,
All
right?
of this, no.
And I said no, because I was so nervous.
You said no
Yeah.
to smoking a J
Yeah.
with Seth Rogan,
Yeah.
the guy that you found super
My
hot.
cousin was freaking out. She's like, go, go, go.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, yeah, I'll see you out there or whatever. And then I just never went. I went to the bathroom and thought I was going to like puke and have diarrhea. And so I
Oh
just
my
never
God.
went.
So you.
But I spoke to him.
That's amazing.
I spoke to him and he kind of bumped into me and grazed my thigh. I
I'm
don't
just
know.
saying. I'm just saying it happened. Wow.
So, yeah, super fun. I'm ready.
Jess.
Yeah, hi.
Hi. It's like we just said hi 10 minutes ago.
I
Now we
know.
have to pretend like we're saying hi randomly
Yeah,
right
now
now.
all of a sudden I'm all like shoulders hunched
Yeah,
in.
you're
Not
stressing
as-
out.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
You should have had a drink or something then before.
Oh God, yeah. Story of my life. I'm planning on going on the sober train, but I've also been saying that for the past like fucking 10 years. Oops, sorry, are we swearing?
You can say whatever you want here. So yeah, no, but one, how are you? Because I remember I saw some stuff that it didn't go so well on a ski hill, and then you were talking to me about even a bit of an injury lately. So what happened?
Well, Stef.
Actually, can we put the mic just a bit
Lower?
Yeah,
Yes.
and we'll lift it up so that way we can get perfect.
Beautiful
Awesome.
face. I do a lot of dumb shit. So that's what happened. But no, I posted the Instagram video of what had happened, and
Yeah.
I wasn't really on a ski hill. I mean, I tell people it was a skiing
Oh,
accident
yes,
just
you
because
made
it
it cooler.
sounds nice. But I was literally the equivalent of a steep driveway.
Okay, so how did a steep driveway turn
At a-
into like
yeah.
multiple stitches?
At a cottage, at my buddy's cottage up north, we were all going skiing / tobogganing / crazy carpeting. I don't know what, there were these foam boards. You could, I'm sure,
Yeah.
use them on the water or on the snow. They go fast. And it was that weekend where we were having a bunch of fresh snow.
Oh, that's like that beautiful like ski
I don't know.
snow.
I don't think it hit in Montreal like it did up north, but we
Okay.
had like 30, like we were snowed in. So
Okay.
it was a snow day. And, I had a mimosa or two, naturally.
3, 4, 7.
I'm always the girl that brings the bottle of cava and like freshly squeezed some juice.
Yeah.
So I had a couple of those, but that's just like naturally. And we all went, boogie boarding.
Whose idea was it? Because there's always the
My
person-
buddy Jaham.
I was gonna say there's always that one guy that says, or one girl that's like, you know what, crazy carpet. We just had like 10 drinks. Let's go out and do it.
Yeah, I mean, it was morning. It was brunch. Honestly, we're not as wild as, these are my friends and have been my friends for the past decade, literally. And we're so tame now. So us
Yeah.
being like, let's try and go outside and enjoy the snow.
Yeah.
We're all in our
Everyone's
mid-30s.
awkward. Yeah, everyone's awkward about nature.
Did
now.
anyone
You're like,
bring snow pants?
Yeah.
So we all went to try and enjoy the day. And I was like, had my little mini booties on with like a 3-inch heel, the ones I wore here, which I probably shouldn't be wearing because my
Yeah.
knees split open. I decided I'm going to go down on my feet and like surf this thing down
Sounds
the
like a
hill.
great idea.
And you see the video and it's looking fine. And as someone who's been skiing since I was 8,
Okay. So it's not some like you never ski or anything. So you just had like that confidence.
I was
I'm
just
a
like,
skier,
yeah,
I
let's
could do this.
I can do it. Anyone can do it. It's just eventually you're gonna fall, and it's all about how you fall.
Yeah.
There's like a way to fall where you don't injure yourself.
Yeah.
And so I thought I had that down packed, and I didn't. Except in the video, it looks like I'm fine, and as
Yeah.
I fell, I felt fine. I just felt like, oh shit, I really like landed on my knee there. And everyone's like, "Are you okay?" Like I heard something from like way up here.
When someone hears something,
Yeah.
you know there's something
Especially
that
in
fucked
snow.
up. Yeah.
It's muffled. So for them to hear
It's
my
loud.
knee from up there, and I was like, yeah, I'm fine. It was just like when you hit a funny bone, it's that
Yeah.
weird sensation of like, oh shit. But I went back up and went down like 2 more times.
Oh, so you continued after?
Yeah, I just thought I hit my knee.
What happened to
And
your
then
knee?
I had my boyfriend come running down the hill being like, Jess, there's like blood, like all in the snow.
Wait, holy
Are you
shit.
okay?
Oh shit.
And that's when I started to feel like a cold, wet sensation all down my leg.
Oh man.
And I looked down and I saw that a friend of mine's like North Face freaking snow pants were completely just gashed through with blood coming out.
Oh my God.
And the first thing I thought was, ooh, I just ripped this bitch's snow pants.
It looks like I need to pay
There's
dry cleaning.
blood all over it. So that's my thought, is like, I can't afford to buy her new ones.
You just leave. You don't come back.
Yeah. So I went inside and took the snow pants off, and that's when I realized that like my pants were just soaked through in blood, like
Holy
soaked
shit.
through. So then I sat down on the toilet,
And you
you
didn't
know, in the
pass
bathroom.
out with all the like the blood loss.
No, so this is when I got nervous.
Okay.
And I got nervous when you know, everyone was like, just like take your pants off, like let's see.
And
the
this is
knee.
the only time you didn't enjoy hearing that. You're like,
Yeah, usually. I'm like,
usually you're like, hey,
Okay.
okay. This one you're like, oh shit.
So yeah, that's when I got nervous and my hands started shaking a little bit because
Yeah.
I knew what I was gonna see wasn't just a little boo boo. It was gonna be bad.
When shit leaves a trail, it's not a boo boo. You know?
Shit leaves a trail. Yeah, so I didn't take my pants off, but I pulled all the details. Pulled my pant leg
We're gonna
up.
do the editing. You know, when I took my pants off, we just only keep certain parts.
And yeah, there was a huge gash.
Oh, man.
Like this big across my kneecap, where I could just see like the inside of my body and everything that
Were you,
makes
like-
the inside of a knee.
What were you thinking at that point?
I was thinking immediately like, wow, the pain I'm feeling isn't matching the graphicness and
Yeah.
violence of what my eyeballs are seeing.
Isn't that crazy?
Insane.
Okay, so you weren't feeling it, and
I've had period cramps worse.
but that's what I was
For
gonna say.
real.
But what happened the moment you saw it? Now, like, did everything kind of switch? Like all of a sudden, you felt more pain? Like,
No.
What happened?
I was just like in fucking shock. I was like, wow, I've never seen the inside of my body like this. I mean, you know, we all get creative when we're naked and like, you know, bend over and look at stuff, you know?
I love it. I have this image now, you know, with like some GoPro in this weird contortionist direction, and you're like, oh, that's there. I didn't know that.
Here?
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, so it was crazy because I saw like my kneecap,
man.
you know, that little floating piece of bone.
But now
that's
you're
right
snowed
there.
in. What did you do?
So my buddy of mine, we went to the pharmacy because I thought I can just put a Band-Aid on this, right?
Hey, this is my knee. What do we need? Just Band-Aid.
Yeah, so, and I had other friends of mine that's like, oh, my daughter, she split her chit open. There's like these special Band-Aids that are almost like stitches where
Okay.
you close it and it's Band-Aid stitches.
Okay.
So I went to the pharmacy. Everything closed at 5.
Yeah.
And it's up north, so everything's taking like a really fucking long time to go around. We're in Santa Gath at this point, and 20 minutes before a pharmacy closes, this woman's like, listen, a Band-Aid's not going to cut it. You need to go to the hospital.
I don't want to burst your bubble,
Yeah.
but this fucking Band-Aid is not enough.
Yeah, so we have to go to the Santa Gath emergency room.
Oh, yeah, I saw. I think you had posted something with someone in the emergency
Yeah,
room.
it was just a shit show,
so
really. And
fun day.
we were there till 1 a.m.
Yeah, for sure. Like,
So
you're not
from-
leaving early.
We left at 4, so from 4 to 1 in the morning, just literally to see a doctor to stitch me up, which took 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I remember once, you know what you were saying about like you don't realize like the actual like pain you should be in probably
Is it
from
like
the injury.
DMT or something that your body releases? Some
Nah.
sort of anti-pain.
I got a fucking puck to the head once. Like I had a scar open up in my head.
Did you get a concussion?
Yeah. Oh my god.
What does that feel
Oh,
like?
that was the best.
That
Ever.
was the
It was like the
best.
coolest trip ever. And I remember, and it was such a fucking stupid way. Like I wish it was cool. Like I wish, you're saying like you wish you had a cool story. I was like coaching this team that I don't even know how to coach. I got put in a situation where I didn't really I shouldn't have been. I was covering for a friend that didn't show up. He asked me to come and help him, and he doesn't show up. So I'm like pretending to coach these kids that are like bound to make the NHL, and I've never coached hockey in my life. They're all like these.
Good old substitute teacher.
Yeah, good old
story.
substitute teacher, like lost. I'm behind this bench. My French is terrible especially when it comes to hockey plays and shit like this. And so I'm just tapping like guys on the shoulder, like, okay, you go, whatever. Like I'm trying to organize all this stuff. They're playing, and then I'm looking down at the board, and boom, a puck hits me in the fucking head.
Jesus.
Like I didn't even realize what happened, and all of a sudden, like the room just went, you know, when you just don't hear anything anymore?
Yeah.
I'll never forget, because remember, I look at this kid, because I don't realize that my head is open. Like, it's my forehead here, it's open.
Oh my God.
And there's blood everywhere. On this shirt that I'm wearing, all blood everywhere. And I just see this kid, and I swear to God, all I heard was, "Dad Barnack." You know? And he's literally looking at him like, oh my God. And then I just put my hand on my face, and blood everywhere.
Oh my.
It was so
God.
intense. It was so intense, but I didn't even realize it. And then the trainer looks at me, and he's like, you know, "Are you feeling warm? Are you feeling hot?" And I'm like, "No, dude, I'm fucking on the ice. I'm frozen, actually." And he goes,
Like,
"Tell
let's
me."
go. Let's finish this day.
Yeah, I got to finish this day. And he's like, "Tell me when you feel hot." So I'm like, okay. I didn't expect that question.
What? So you're waiting now?
So you're waiting? And then he goes, "Yeah, tell me, like, give me like a heads up before." I'm like, okay. So all of a sudden, as we're walking, my body just, it is on fire. And I look at him, and I think his name was Alex. I'm like, "Alex," I'm like, "Yo,
It's happening.
it's hot. It's hot." He goes, "Okay, you're going to pass out right now. Don't worry." I'm like, "What?" Out.
Whoa.
Yeah, I had to go. They brought
But
me.
you should have been sitting down already.
Well, they were trying to transfer me off the ice, right? Because I have to get out
okay,
to
so
go
this happened
out.
quickly.
This,
Okay.
yeah, this happened. No, it wasn't
I
like
thought it was
continue.
just
No,
like,
we didn't
all
finish
right,
playing
so
the game.
your
No.
head split open. Tell me when you feel weird.
Anyways, it was so crazy. That's why when you're saying like those injuries, you don't know. Like in that moment, you're like, it can't be that bad. And then all of a sudden, when I saw myself at the hospital, it was this fucking like 7 stitches on my head. It was a mess.
Because I've always pictured myself. It's not that I fantasized about this, but you always think like,
Tell me more about your fantasies.
if ever I injure myself publicly, I always thought to myself like, man, I'm gonna look like a bitch. Like I'm gonna be crying.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna be just like.
You went down two more times, so that's pretty cool, actually. Then.
But in reality, your body has this self-defense mechanism where it just shuts that pain receptor off, and it's really cool because otherwise I would have been crying.
So now after we talk about all these injuries, you actually write music. It has nothing to do with this.
Yes, injuries aside, I do many other things.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's
hurt
one.
myself.
Well, I saw something that's coming out. I think like I don't know when we're gonna release this podcast. There's been like a bunch of shit that kind of slowed the process down. So I don't know when we're gonna release this, but I saw that you're releasing something January 26th.
Yes.
And it's like an EP or it's a single?
So it's out, guys.
Oh, it's out? Okay, it's officially out?
Well, by the time people see
exactly.
this, it will be out. Yeah, I just released, as of January 26th, Friday, a single called Undertones.
Yeah.
It's something I've been working on for many years. I have a very slow creative process.
It's a single or it's an EP?
So the EP will be called Diary of a Flame.
Okay, because I saw you like with all this fire stuff and hand on fire, so I was like, okay, I wasn't sure what if it was EP or.
Yeah, so it'll be the single off the EP.
Okay.
The EP will be out late February, so.
Yeah, well, it should work.
See.
It should work.
But yeah, I'm super stoked about it. I'm really happy with how the visuals turned out. I really want to give a shout out to a friend of mine, Sean Mundy. He's blowing up right now, actually. He just worked with 21 Savage.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. He is a pyromaniac. No, probably not. But
There was that one guy that was to light shit on fire.
yeah.
They just like seeing shit burn. Something in them. You see their eyes, they sparkle like they're so
Really
happy.
cool graphic designer. Actually, I don't know if I'm labeling him. He's a wicked artist. Let's just put it that way. Multifaceted artist. I'm super lucky to be surrounded. I mean, we both are so lucky to be surrounded by so much talent.
I know.
This city is just so saturated with amazing talent.
Really good
It's
artists and like
wicked.
in so many different fields.
Yeah, so I worked with him and he lit my arm on fire and that was cool. And
What were you thinking when he? Okay, who pitched the idea?
Me.
Okay.
Well, he pitched me what he had in mind as a concept.
Okay.
But I went to him specifically looking for him to set me on fire in some way.
Keep going. I don't even know what question to ask.
So I'm like, okay, people are releasing really cool visuals. And as I mentioned, Montreal's just so saturated with talent. Who's lighting themselves on fire?
Just Google that shit.
Not many people that I know of. So I was like, okay, that'll look cool.
Yeah.
And like, you know, with the fiery curly red hair, it's just like a whole red flamey thing. And so we did that, and looking sick. I'm happy with it, and so if I'm happy
Yeah.
with it, then I mean I don't really care what anyone else thinks.
Isn't that funny? Like, was you know, because I saw you did a lot of stuff. Like you know, like I did a quick like read, and you know, at least who the hell am I talking to, right? But like from being on TV, from being, you know, writing music for a while. I think there was also film in there somewhere, or some sort of film, being involved with TV, and like there's a bunch of stuff that you've done. And have you always had that feeling of like you didn't care, or is that something recent now that you started realizing like I'm doing this for me?
Oh, that comes with age.
Yeah. Okay.
That comes as of last week.
Yeah. I was about to say, it's like I never, you're so worried about all the time what people are thinking. I'm like, and I noticed that as you get older, you kind of like let go of that. So I'm
Yeah.
curious, like, when did you start finally?
Last week.
Like, oh, for real, like this morning.
No, I think just that magic 30 number hit,
Huh?
and you just start realizing, I don't know, you start getting grounded a little bit, which is a good thing and a bad thing in my case, just because I've had my head in the clouds and living in Cloud 9 and in Narnia for most of my life, just
Okay.
like total fantasy land, which is what's helped me be so creative and successful in like the little things I've wanted to do in life, all the projects I've done. But yeah, you get grounded a little later on in life and have different priorities and different goals. And yeah, you just start doing things for you. Whereas when I was younger, it was like, how can I make it, whatever it is?
Yeah, I love
How
that
can I
word.
be
Isn't it such a great-
successful? Whatever successful means or success means to you. I guess just like chasing happiness for such a long time. But that happiness goal was also attached with, how do I get myself noticed? How do I get approval? How do I get all of this stuff? How do I get people to like me or think that I'm good or talented? And yeah, that all kind of just stops after a while. Just because you start realizing, okay, you end up doing something that
Yeah.
you're not necessarily really in love with. And then you kind of get lost and realize that you're doing it for someone else.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't become fun anymore.
When do you remember like certain times that you can clearly think of? Like I know certain times for me that I realize I'm like, why did
Yeah.
I even do this? Like
Definitely.
And I remember those times every time I'm about to, like maybe do that again, and then I think of that feeling. I'm like, oh, I don't want that feeling again. So like, when was it like those last few times that made you? What were the feelings you kind of got those last few times when you did that?
It's been a while, but there's one clear moment in my life a few years back. I've been through like, oh my, just so many agents, mismanagement agencies, all that stuff. I'm like, for the past few years now, I've been solely independent, which comes with its own hurdles, obviously, but really feels way better than having someone, you know, with their hands in your pockets, physically and metaphorically speaking. But yeah, there was this one time I remember really clearly, and I think I've told this story before, where I was actually working with my buddy Stephen Voice, and
Shout out to Stephen. We were
yeah,
listening
shout
to
out
him
to
right
Stephen. We
before.
were just listening to you before. I don't know which camera to look at, but yeah, I'm gonna leave this person unnamed. They've
Yeah.
been blacklisted and Me Too'd since then. But we were
Okay.
working with this agent, and Steve and I were releasing a single called Molly, which I'm so in love with. It's one of my favorite songs. We released this double single called Molly and Sour Cherry, and they have this bossa nova-y pop
Yeah.
jazz feel to it. Love it. So we were shooting cover art for that and like marketing and press materials around that single. And I remember I was in his big studio, and he had like the makeup artists and the wardrobe and stylists and everything there. Like this guy really liked to make a show of,
Like it was an event. doing
yeah,
this,
like he was a big shot.
Yeah.
And he wanted us to know that he was a big shot.
Yeah, it's the ego that's really popping in, right?
Totally unnecessary, but yeah. So he had his whole team there, and he took one good look at me, and he's like, yeah, Jess, curly hair is not marketable, so we're gonna get rid of that today right quick.
No
So
way.
he had me in a chair for like 2.5 hours, and had this poor woman straightening my curls out like flat, and then put me
fuck.
in a red corporate Republican pantsuit with this see-through, it looked like I was wearing a garbage bag or a recycling bag
What the
underneath.
fuck?
And he was just like, yeah, sexy. And had me in these like red high heel stilettos. Literally, there's outtakes of me walking around like I can't walk in heels.
Yeah.
If you know, Jess Abran doesn't walk in heels.
If you know this, if you know me.
Clearly,
you
I
don't-
was wearing boot heels,
You wore
snowboarding
heels
down
in
the
the wrong
hill,
time, though.
and bailed. Yeah, so I'll always remember that. And now on Spotify and all online streaming stores forever more, there's a picture of me and Steve looking great, and me beside him looking like not me. Literally, you would never be able to tell that's Jess. I look
I
like
think
if
you're
I had
right.
a
'Cause
long-lost sister or
When
something.
because I was listening to some of the tracks, I remember, and there was one track that I have to ask you a question about the snare. I love the fucking snare on one of the songs, but I remember that cover. It's like kind of like a teal or whatever background, and I think like the two of you are there, and I was like, oh. And not in a bad way, but I was like, oh, that's different. Like maybe she just tried like a different look.
Yeah.
So how do you like now you see this? Does it hurt or motivate, I guess, when you see that picture? Like what are kind of like the thoughts that go on in your mind when you see
It
that
hurts
picture?
me that I was like, that I went along with it and didn't have a backbone to even give him other options. Because I was just like, yes, okay, you're the guy with the money. You're making this happen for me, so I won't say a word. When really, like, off camera, I was like with Steve the whole time, like, what the fuck are they doing to me?
Yeah.
And none of us said anything.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, we could go so deep into
Yeah.
how many times and how many situations we could have said a thing that we should have said and retroactively. But yeah, now I use it as a motivating factor of just like I'm never going to let anyone never do that again. I know who I am.
Yeah.
I know how I want to be represented. Yeah, I'm not going to let some guy or some gal with deep pockets determine what I'm going to wear or what I'm going to look like or what my music's going to sound like. I'm just really, really done with that. Like,
And-
I've been through it all, really. So, yeah, no more.
And now when you're making decisions like this new EP, right? And you look super excited, you look super happy about like the artistic work. Is it also kind of like an EP where you see this new music coming out, but kind of almost like a growth from your side, a new you towards how you want to walk into
Yeah, most
like
of these
music and
most of
just
these,
creativity?
Yeah, most of these tracks were written during the pandemic. And during the pandemic, before that, I was so busy doing another thing in another avenue of my career. Like, I was in and out of California all the time, like all throughout 2018, 2019.
Why?
I was working with Warner Brothers and this crowdfunding company from France called Ulule. I think they're bankrupt now. Their headquarters
God
in
you're out of that
Montreal
one.
don't exist anymore, I don't think. But I was their head director of all content.
Oh, shit.
I'd never been in a position of that caliber before.
Were you buzzing?
So I was faking it, as we all do to a certain extent.
I was about to say that, yeah.
But I am an uneducated person in a traditional sense.
Yeah.
Just never, school was never really for me. I've always just been like a working musician my whole life until I discovered that I could do other things in media and in entertainment.
Yeah, that's a whole other conversation I'd love to have with you.
Yeah. So for them to just give me this position, I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Pinching. And then, by the way, we're sending you off to California. We have a
Pinching.
Yeah, we have a big partner with Warner Brothers and Bank of the West in California. Like, they're funding our initiatives. So you go ahead and you do that. And I was like a one woman show. I don't know how I veered off into that topic, but no, essentially I had not picked up my guitar. That's where I'm going with this, in over a year. So during the pandemic, I was nearing the end of like a 10-year relationship with my ex, and we had been living together for also like 9 years of that time.
That's a lot of change then.
Yeah, it was like a moment of a lot of change. I had lost my dream job in California.
Why does, like, whenever you hear these stories, it's like you hear everything crashing always at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, there's the relation. No, but in one way, it's kind of like it almost needs to happen.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. In my case, it worked out for the better. Do you, like, you've been through it now, so you have your story. So I'm wondering, like, all these things are happening. How the fuck you kind of escaped back to music because of all
Yeah.
that?
I literally dusted off my guitar, like not metaphorically speaking, like it
Like,
had a
I
thick
grabbed
layer.
a Swiffer.
Yeah. Yeah, one of those Swiffer duster things. Yeah, I like dusted off my Norman guitar, tuned her up, changed the strings, and then just started playing again. And it had been like a year and a half since I literally picked up my guitar, which I'm so sorry, Norman. Poor baby. My baby.
And so how did like so what okay, I like hearing that kind of like those types of stories in the sense of what triggered you to finally after a year and a half say I'm going to pick up this guitar.
Well, I lost my dream job.
Okay.
And me and my boyfriend at the time were literally like essentially living in separate rooms. So I had my what I called my jam room, my studio room, and slash guest room with no bed in it, and just started isolating myself in there, feeling sorry for myself, which is one of my favorite things to do
It's so great.
as an artist.
It's so fun.
I'm sure we all relate.
Yeah, if you ever
Poor
were an artist,
me.
there's nothing better than feeling like shit.
Yes.
In what
It's
so weird.
dangerous because I just revel in it. I just roll around in
And
it.
then you kind of like you almost like without this, what am I going to write about?
Exactly.
It's almost like
It's
being
toxic.
happy. Yeah, it's such a weird thing. I totally understand what you're saying.
But it's like I get really comfortable in that feeling of
Yeah.
like, I get so comfortable in that feeling, so much so, and this is another topic we could dive into a whole other podcast, but happiness is so fleeting that whenever I feel it come into my body, it's almost like an episode of mania because I'm like, oh my God, I'm happy. And then I focus on that feeling of happiness. And then I'm like, oh, fuck, it's going to go away. It's going to go away. How long is it going to last? I should not think about happiness. I should just be present in the moment of happiness. And then it always just goes away. And then you're like, of course it went away. I'm just born to be this massive cloud of dread.
Yeah.
And then you get comfortable in that, like, oh, well, of course this is happening to me. Like, poor me. Yeah, I'm just fucking doomed. Of course I'm doomed to feel this way for the rest of my life. But that's where most of my creativity comes from, is that, like, damp blanket. But now, as you get older, you learn to manage that in much healthier ways.
Yeah. Drinking.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I know when to like switch it off, or
Yeah.
like you know how to recognize, okay, yeah, I'm feeling this way. Drink a celery juice
That's so 30s.
or communicate.
That's that now
I
you
brought a
crossed the
celery
finish-
juice with me here today.
But okay, so but you're saying stuff that I think even for me, I remember like I actually when I'm in my shittiest times
Yeah.
is when I finally get some sort of clarity. When I'm
Yeah.
at like the worst at the lowest, it's like I just need a little win right now. Like, and I need this little win. I don't need anything else. I just
Yeah.
need this fucking like one little thing to
And
go
it
right.
always comes.
And it comes because you
It's that
finally
little like blimp.
and I find it's kind of you kind of finally start like looking for the win, whereas like you were saying before, you kind of always like I told you it wasn't gonna work or whatever
Yeah.
it is, right? So like, did you feel like that with the guitar? Like when you finally picked it back up and you started playing with it again, did you feel like a bit of a win, and that's what kind of brought you back in?
Steph, these are really good questions. Sorry, I just had a bird's eye view of myself in this podcast right now, and just a sidebar. You're really good at asking questions.
I know, thank you. I'm so good. I'm so good. Chris, I'm so good.
But yeah, because you're really triggering like memories.
Okay, good.
And-
So I trigger people. I'm happy. Thank you.
And
But in a good way, hopefully.
Yes, no, of course. You're bringing me back. Yes, so I remember picking up the guitar, and I remember just strumming chords I had never strung before. I've always had a hard time with lyrics, never with melody. I'm a melody queen. I'm a hook queen. I'm good at that. But finding lyrics that are meaningful, have depth, and make some sort of metaphorical sense, I've always had a hard time. And it just really started flowing out of me.
Yeah.
And it was just song after song after song. And I used to call them like my little acoustic scratch tracks because I didn't want to give them that much meaning yet because I was super insecure. I'm like, oh, they're just little audio diaries, my little
Yeah.
scratch tracks, my little notebook. They don't mean anything. And then I started building and building and building on them. And then lo and behold, oh my God, it's like 2024. And I finally have the means to get them done.
Yeah.
Which, as a musician, is just a huge process because you have to go into the studio, get them recorded, and then go and get them mixed. And you got to
And then the
find the
mastering.
right guy to mix them and not butcher them.
Mm-hmm.
And we've all been down the path of having someone not mix your tracks right and it just being like, this is not the vibe.
But why is it that okay, perfect example. I remember the first time we made an EP and it was terrible. Like not there was one that we did that we really like were happy with Dave actually
Yeah.
a long time ago. That one was amazing and that's how we kind of became friends. And it was like when you find the person that you can like, especially at the time like that we were so into music and you find this person you trust with your
Yeah.
song, it's like you really like you become like brothers or whatever,
Yeah.
family, whatever
It's
you
just
want
like,
to
I'm
call
gonna
it.
hold on to you.
Yeah, I need you
You're
here
not
more
going
because we're
anywhere.
gonna write more music and
Yeah.
we all know how to write together and it's kind of like this connection that happens. But when it doesn't connect and you listen back to the song and you're like, oh my God,
the
this song sounds like fucking shit.
Did you do?
It feels like it's butchered. It's like
Yeah.
the levels are all wrong.
Yeah.
It's just like you feel weird.
Yeah.
Even listen, you hear your song and it's not the song you wrote. It's
Yeah.
such a weird feeling.
I've broken down and cried from horrible mixes.
Yeah.
That costs so much money too.
I know.
I've honestly learned throughout the years that if you want something done, half the time you just do it yourself and figure it out. Like with cover, like photo shoots and cover art and stuff. Like I would have hired a guy for this EP. It would have cost me hundreds. And in
Easy.
the end, my boyfriend took out his cell phone, some Android Samsung phone.
Isn't it crazy?
I have a black backdrop at home. And I edited that the way, and there you go, album art done, free,
And you know what's crazy?
and no one
You
cares.
actually no, you realize that there wasn't a difference. One, there's times where you could really see it. Like when someone does it
Yes.
really well, you see the difference.
Yes.
But the basic, like most people are not great, so you're kind of like looking okay this whole time.
Mm-hmm.
You pay for it, and then it's not looking good. But then you realize when you do it yourself, I find you actually like it more. Like the stuff that we make, Chris and I, like it's a home shop, right? The
Yeah.
whole show, it's a home fucking shop. Everything about it. But we enjoy it. Like it's our shit.
Yeah.
Even if it's shitty, it's my shit.
Yeah.
And it's not someone
least
else
it's not
that
someone else's
it's
shit
someone
that
else's
I
shit
pay
that with
for.
my face on it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's like at least it's my stink. I'll make it myself. And there's something about it. And then I find there comes a point where you realize like, okay, this is the furthest I can go on my own now.
Yeah.
And now I know what I don't want and I know what I do want.
Yes.
And you're the right person to bring me to another level. Like I find
Yeah.
it's like that's the progression. I don't know if you feel that same way now. Or,
Definitely. Yeah. When you find your people who best represent you or are able to make you shine in your mixes or
Yeah.
the mastering. I went to Freck Shop and Dave
Yeah.
for the mastering.
Dave's awesome.
And yeah, he took my direction super, super well. And yeah, he made it shine. So I'm super, super stoked.
One thing, like just like on a side note for
Yeah.
Dave, what I always loved about Dave is that his his band's doing really well. Like
Yeah.
they're everywhere and he could leverage all this stuff and he does like you talk to him and you wouldn't even know. Like he loves like helping the musician
I love him.
find their sound. Like he helps them like figure things out on their own.
Yeah.
And then he kind of like says, okay, now that we know what it's like let's do it. And but he'll suggest something and he suggests something in a way where it doesn't feel like it's hurting the song. Like you're like, yeah, well, yeah, let's try it. It actually sounds like a good suggestion to
Yeah.
it or whatever. And you don't feel like he's trying to take over the song
Yeah.
or anything like that. So I remember even this was a long time ago when we worked together and it was like that like 20 years ago. So and all I've heard is always that same he's always been that for the last 20 years.
Yeah,
Him and Derek.
It's also great when you find people to work with where they can take direction without taking it personally
Yeah.
either.
He has none of that.
Like, man, I've worked with some people who have such strong egos and believe in what their thing is so strongly
Yeah.
that when you suggest an edit, they're like, well, they just get a little offended.
Yeah.
And in the end, it's like,
Yeah, they
okay,
take
well,
it personal.
This is kind of my project.
Last time I remember it's my name on it.
Yeah, so I found the dream team in terms of
Nice.
that, which is always really nice.
But when you were like thinking now back and you kind of we triggered some stuff. How did it all start in the first place? Like, what made you want to get into music? Because you do a lot of stuff, but like there was music seemed to like.
I didn't always.
No, it sounded like when I was reading like whatever like
So
a bit
yeah,
of
I
a
have
short
a
bio. It's like a long history of music though.
crazy resume now, but it's the typical scenario of like jack of all trades, master of none. For the longest time, it was really only just music.
Okay.
Got my first guitar at the age of 12. Discovered, Pantera, Slayer, Metallica, Sex Pistols, Rancid, NoFX. That was my jam back then.
Yeah.
Typical rebellious teenager. Dyed my hair black and blue.
You open the book. Hello, which bands I need?
Yes. So those, I was very like anti-authority and all that shit, graffitiing under the bridge, listening to the Chili Peppers.
Yeah, and you think you're in a video.
Yeah.
You think you're in. I used to picture myself being in videos
too.
all the time. I used to have like I always just say like I felt like life was like a soundtrack in a sense. Like I always needed a soundtrack,
yeah.
and I'd be walking around thinking like I would hear this song and I'd be like, oh man, I would look so cool in this video right now.
I was
for this song.
definitely the main character
definitely.
of my
Oh
story.
yeah, big time.
I was very just talk about wallowing in your own sorrow. Like
But it was
that
so fun.
It
It was so fun.
Yeah.
I had such a great time being
Same.
the dick.
Same. I was such a horrible little teenager. We could get into childhood traumas and stuff, but yeah, I was a bit of a dick to the point where one Christmas my mom got a little saucy and told us kids at the table like, oh, I would do you kids all over again if I could. I swear you guys were so great, except for you, Jessica.
Well, okay, my mom once.
I was apparently just a terror.
Same. Okay, my brothers were like angels, and then I showed up, and then and then it fucked
So
shit
you were the
up.
baby?
Yeah, I was the baby.
Okay, I was the eldest.
You were the eldest.
yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah, I know no one would ever think. I'm the
Yeah, I would have
eldest of
thought you were the
3.
baby in the story for sure.
Yeah, I sure act like it.
I can confirm I was the baby. And I remember my mom caught me smoking when I was like 12 years old.
Yes.
She freaked out, and obviously she's like, "Promise me you're not gonna smoke. Promise me." Like,
My
and I'm like,
heart.
"I promise." And I'm like, as I'm promising, I know I'm going outside for a cigarette. Like I was like totally lying to my mom's face. And then she looked at me after, like, 'cause she had given me a bunch of shit. Like she wasn't just crying. She told me off all this stuff.
Wow.
And she's like, when you're 18, you do whatever the fuck you want to do. I don't care. You want to smoke your head off. It's always those weird lines. Smoke your head off. I'm like, okay, whatever. On my 18th birthday, on the cake, I took out my cigarettes. And I took out a cigarette and I lit a cigarette in front of my mom.
Oh my God, in the house?
In the house on my birthday cake.
Sacrilege.
The candles. My mom's face to this day, and I think now, because I have like a kid, I'm like, if my daughter would do that, I would freak out.
Grounded.
Oh my God, I don't know how she just like freaked out inside, but she didn't say anything, but I was like, oh my God, what an asshole kid I was.
I could just
I'm like,
picture
what
you.
a dick move. What
Young
an asshole
thug.
move. Yeah, I thought it was so cool. Now I'm like, what a dick.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, back to you playing guitar and being all punk and shit.
So that's where it started. And yeah, I was very fortunate that I went to a little high school called LRHS, Laurentian Regional High School.
Oh, you were up north?
In Lachute,
Okay,
yeah.
so you've always been in that area.
Yeah, I was a country kid.
Your country, yeah, because you had mentioned farm earlier.
Yeah.
Like, where the fuck did she grow?
My
Where's the
stepdad's farm. My
Okay.
parents divorced. My parents divorced.
That's
like
part of-
every
that-
90s kid story.
I was gonna say that's part of the story.
Yeah.
You need that.
Yeah, so my mom's been with my stepdad since I was 5.
Okay.
The ripe age of 5 years old. And so he had a farm, and so I just grew up on the farm, like showing the cows, doing the fair, doing the square dancing, part of the 4-H club, the whole thing.
And now you're a Verdun girl.
Yeah.
And so how is that? Like even just thinking about life, how different life is.
Well, I
with
wanted
there.
to escape that life.
Okay, you wanted
very
to leave the
badly.
farm?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
From, I think, as soon as I finished high school, which I barely graduated, my teachers did me, my math teacher in particular, did me a favor.
Thank you, Mr. Whatever.
Yeah. Oh, fuck, what's his name?
Yeah, it's okay.
He sounded like Kermit the Frog, and he was the best. Fuck. I really would have loved to have given him a shout out, but I was going to fail miserably.
Yeah.
Like, I was already a year behind in math.
Yeah.
So I think Sec 4, I was in Sec 4 math, but like Bobo math.
Yeah.
And I was failing that, I think, with like a 40 or something.
Okay, so you were fucked.
And I remember I came, because I was doing fine in everything else. By fine, I mean like fine. And I remember he came up to me And he saw that I was clearly worried if I was going to graduate or not. And he's like, don't worry, I gave you a 60. And I was like, oh, God, thank you so Mr. Clark. Thank you so much, Mr. Clark.
You saved me, Mr.
Oh,
Clark.
my God. Yeah, because I wouldn't have graduated, man. I was full on in music.
Were you freaking out though, just thinking that you might not graduate? Like, what was going through your mind? Like, can you? I don't know if you can actually remember that, but
I knew I was going to move out regardless.
okay, regardless, it was like,
Yeah.
I'm out.
At 17, I was gone.
Yeah.
$50 in my pocket. My parents dropped me off in St. Anne de Bellevue, and I chose to go to John Abbott College only because I was like, this is Hogwarts.
Yeah,
This is Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and
I know.
Wizardry.
It's such a beautiful campus.
Yeah, and I thought that was the big city. I had never taken a public bus before, let alone
So you
like...
thought St. Anne de Bellevue was the big city?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
I was country.
That's you were so country that you thought the country was city.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, this is big. And
wow, you must have. Okay, so where did you go after St. Anne de Bellevue?
I went to NDG.
Okay,
Baby
so
steps.
You're doing baby steps. Okay, now you're getting closer and closer to the city, a main city.
But I wasn't in much. This isn't a linear timeline because after I graduated high school, I moved to St. Anne de Bellevue. Oh yeah, so while I was in high school, my music career kind of propelled at like a really young age.
What happened?
I was super fortunate. In the middle of nowhere, LRHS high school, there was a producer to the Stars who was a parent to one of the kids there.
Get out of here.
His name is, and man, I was just in touch with him recently and just sent him my EP just ahead of time.
Yeah.
And just sent him like a huge thank you, like dude, thank you so much for taking me under your wing at such a young age. Like things you taught me, like thank you so much. Be proud of me because here's my EP. His name is Paul Northfield.
Okay, the name sounds familiar.
His name's Paul Northfield, and he was just like fucking a huge producer.
Yeah,
back
didn't
in
he
the day.
work with like huge like Rush and stuff?
Rush, Black Sabbath,
Okay.
David Usher, Courtney Love,
Holy shit.
Dream Theater.
Okay, I didn't realize that. I for some reason Rush like rang like was the first
Yeah.
band, but
Yeah.
holy shit.
One of the first songs I ever recorded was on an acoustic guitar that one of the guys from Rush left behind at the studio.
Oh man.
And so I got to play on that, and I still remember the warmth of the guitar in my hands. And this is specific because I remember Paul Northfield's studio, his house in general was fucking freezing cold. I don't know what it is with old people and having a cold house.
Yeah, it's usually the opposite. Old
Really?
people, man, it's on fire, the house. Like, it's
Really?
heating everywhere. I'm dying
In
when
every
I walk
old
in.
person's house I've been in, it's freezing.
They're always wearing 8 layers. Well, it's true.
But they're always wearing
They're
8
always wearing
layers.
8 layers, though, because they're worried about the heating bill.
Yeah.
No.
So I remember always going to his studio and always being famished, always being thirsty, and always having my limbs freezing off. But I remember he had a bunch of cool guitars and a bunch of cool gear, and he gave me this Dan Electro that my ex still has today. And I recorded one of my first songs on this acoustic guitar, and it just felt so warm, and the sound was warm. And anyway, man, this guy took me under his wing. And he approached to me one of my final years of high school, because I was one of those kids that did every single variety show, every
Same here.
single talent show. I remember singing Rage Against the Machine, like, fuck you, I won't do what you
Oh,
tell
man, that must
me.
have been amazing in a high school
And
variety
then
show.
being in detention after.
Yeah, I was saying, I'd love to see the aftermath of playing Rage.
It was called ISS, which, what does that stand for? In school suspension.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that's a real suspension. You have to come
Yeah.
to school and do nothing.
Yeah. So that got me in trouble, and I was just doing nothing back then but just mushrooms and acid and weed and just playing music and just literally dreaming big. And working with him allowed me to dream big because I was like, I'm with the guy.
Yeah.
And he approached me after a year of just me doing it for me and was like, I remember he had, so British, this guy, very British. And he had these green horn-rimmed glasses.
It's so mental.
And he, in a gray hair and a ponytail, very Vogue, and drove a little Beetle with like a sunflower inside of it, I remember. And he approached me and he's like, right, don't want to sound creepy, but I've been watching you since you were like 13.
You know, the awkwardness
I'm
of
like,
that
you're
line.
a parent here, right? You have a child here too? But essentially talent scouting me.
Yeah.
And saw how much I had grown and progressed and was like, you have something. So let's work together.
Yeah.
Let's see how I can help you.
How did it feel like being that young and someone is telling you you have something and this is a dream now that's happening? Like, how did you react to hearing a comment like that?
I had no one believe in me. So
Yeah, that's what
I
I'm
had
saying.
my
So someone
literally,
telling you
yeah,
that.
my first EP I had recorded, and I love my mother,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, and she's proud of me now that I've seen some success. But back in the day, I think she used it as like a protective mechanism of like,
Yeah. My
what are you
mom's the same
doing?
thing.
But I used to play my guitar in my bedroom, and she used to force me to go play in my closet.
Okay. No,
She
my
didn't
mom
want to hear
didn't.
it.
My mom didn't do
She didn't want to
that.
hear it. I think, you know, her having me at a really young age kind of stunted her own dreams. And so her being human, knowing that I had such a passion and knowing that it was maybe
Yeah.
going to go somewhere, felt some sort of resentment.
It's possible.
And that's fine. I've worked past
Yeah.
that through therapy. But yeah, my first EP was a piece of shit EP or album that I wrote literally on a tape deck in my closet
Isn't
on
that
like
cool
a
though? Do
really
you have
old
the
and
copies of it? Like,
yeah, I burnt some CDs of it, and I have it now on
do
Spotify
you?
and Bandcamp and stuff.
Okay, you have it on Spotify and Bandcamp. Okay, because
Yeah.
I saw something like it was an old one, Vulture.
That was recorded live off a studio floor,
Okay.
but no, it's called the Closet Album,
Okay, I gotta check it out.
and it's really dark. It's really dark. Like I had
Just
a
warning.
really
I'm warning you. Don't worry. Like I'll survive.
yeah, and we could talk about that, but that was really intense. It was just recorded on like a tape deck or on like an MP3 player, and there's a lot of stuff in that.
Yeah.
There's my high school sweetheart who I was with for 6 years. He had a really fucked up home situation. His parents were really like aggressive towards each other.
Yeah.
There's one of the songs on that album where you could hear me, my ex is telling me like, get into the bathroom, lock the door. And because his parents were getting into it again.
Holy fuck! And it's on the album.
Yeah, like you could hear his dad being super violent and
Wow.
like physically violent with his mother. And
That's
that's in
insane.
the background of one of the tracks.
Oh my god, that's fucked up.
Yeah, there's just so much
Yeah,
on
that's
that
heavy.
album. It's a lot of
That's
like
heavy.
childhood trauma, violence, verbal aggressions and stuff. And
Wow.
I found a way to kind of like trickle that into like a lot of the tracks.
Yeah.
And then with my like acousticy lullabies on top of it, it's super ominous.
Okay.
Technically speaking, horribly produced. I mean, not really produced at all.
But there's kind of like, you know, those horrible productions like that Blair Witch Project
Yeah.
scenario, where that's I find more and more. I just find myself more the worse the production, the less professional it is.
Yeah.
There's an element that I just enjoy so much out
Yeah.
of it.
It's just so raw.
Yeah, when I'm looking at like ads and shit and it's like all this like overproduced stuff.
Yeah.
And then like the ad is like literally sometimes just like nothing. Like there's nothing to it, or this show or this TV or whatever.
It's just a
something
big
you know, a
polished
song,
crap.
you know, you hear the person's off tune at times or
Yeah.
you know, you just like, oh, okay, yeah, it's like it's not AI. It's not like
Yeah.
not because I like AI. Don't get me wrong, I love ChatGPT. I use
Mm-hmm.
it all the time. But like for music and stuff, I like hearing still like or not still, but I just like hearing someone make a mistake.
Yeah.
Or it's not perfect. Because then I know that it's you. It's not like some
Mm-hmm.
production that you're trying to sell me something in a sense. Even though you're trying to sell me something, but
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
feels a little more real. I don't know if you feel that way now.
Yeah, it was my first kind of project, and it was essentially like a diary of my youth. But yeah, to have someone of the caliber of Paul Northfield be like, we're going to do something together. He then brought me to LA for the first time to work with the Suicidal Tendencies.
Shit. Yeah.
At the time, they were like hiring a new guitarist, Nico. I don't think he's still with them. But it was really cool, and he really made me feel like, okay, I do have something, despite everyone being like, okay.
I'm not crazy. There is
Yeah.
something here.
So yeah, he really made me believe in myself, because for a long time I was just
And how old were you at this point?
maybe 16.
Okay, so it's kind of like that age where I find if you don't have that push from somebody, it's very easy to kind of stop.
Yeah.
It's not that everyone does, but it's you could see why someone would stop because it becomes a long time of not having anyone tell you like, hey man, you're actually pretty good at this.
Yeah, and a lot of people will pursue whatever passions they have.
Yeah.
And then the reality of the world is sometimes it'll just be a hobby.
Yeah.
And you could like it all you want, but sometimes you
No.
just don't have it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times you will have it, and then nothing will ever happen.
Yeah.
And you just have to come to terms with that, which I did.
Well, what did you come to terms with? Because you're still releasing music. It doesn't mean that you
So
came to terms with it in a
Yeah.
sense of like you stopped. You just maybe came. Did you say like maybe would you say you came to terms with the high expectations that you're putting on yourself?
So we touched on this earlier. The difference is I do it for me now,
Yeah.
and I do it because I love it.
Yeah.
And before I used to do it because I wanted it to yield some sort of result. I wanted to impress people. I want people to
ROI.
notice me. Yeah, I wanted to be, you know, famous.
Yeah.
Do it for the gram before the gram was the gram.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and now I just do it for me.
Yeah.
And the more I do it for me, I've realized the more genuine the work is and the more people notice anyway.
I know, isn't it? But isn't it? I was having this conversation with someone recently, and just saying that we know the answers, like we know the answers,
Yeah.
but we fight this answer for so long, because you like you were saying that example, you know, with the guy that made you, you know, straighten your hair and put on a garbage bag or whatever, you know,
So weird.
so weird, you know, but you kind of knew it was wrong and it wasn't you.
Yeah.
You know it. And you know it the whole time when he's doing your hair and all this shit. And not to bring up like a memory, but it's this idea that we have this like thing that we can't believe ourselves. Like we don't trust our instinct
No.
in those moments.
Yeah.
So that's why I find for myself too now, there's moments where sometimes when I doubt my instinct, I'm like, no, dude, this is the truth for you. Now, it's not
Yeah.
the truth for everybody, but it's
Yeah.
the truth for you. And are you going to not listen to it? Like, why would you not listen to yourself?
Yeah. Yeah, there comes a certain point, especially as we touched on again, age, you have to learn to trust in yourself because you've been through, at a certain point, you have to learn from your mistakes and
Yeah.
be like, okay, we know what this result will be. So how about you just
Been here before, yeah.
trust yourself this time.
Yeah.
And that's what we're learning to do here in the old Jess Abran noggin. But yeah.
But now, so this EP, this thing's coming out, and there's like this whole road, and like, well, hold on a second before we get to the EP, because you went to California when you were young, but then you went back to California
Yeah.
as an adult for a job, though.
Yeah.
How was that experience going to California young?
It was so cool because I was 21
Wow,
at
perfect
the time.
timing.
Yeah. And I was going to work with the suicidal tendencies. And at the same time, my music was licensed in a horror film, like a grindhouse independent horror film.
How cool is that? Like someone calls you and says, "I want this song for a movie."
So I was lucky. My cousin was an independent filmmaker
Fuck.
who also was from the South Shore of Montreal and decided that she was going to dream big, made it happen for herself. Like got the green card, moved over there, and she made this super low budget. I mean, like insanely low budget.
Like $48 budget,
movie. Okay.
and she got $6 back.
I also acted in it.
No
and
way.
I was the first one to die.
How does it feel to die in a horror movie?
Feels good.
It feels good.
Yeah, it feels good because then you get to just watch as a spectator for the rest, and you don't have to worry about like getting your lines right or whatever. I'm a horrible actress. So anyway, my music was also licensed in this movie, and lo and behold, the summer of 2012, we get word back that this grindhouse horror film has been nominated for a Hollywood Film Festival Award.
Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Were you buzzing?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you said it was your cousin?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, so, and she was freaking out as
Yeah.
well. Not only the Hollywood Film Festival, but I found out my song was picked and nominated at the Chicago Film Fest, and
Wow.
I couldn't make it out to that one, but yeah, I was just like insane. And these are old ass songs that I don't even think have any like, I find what I'm creating now is just so much better. So to know and be validated even then,
Yeah.
I was like, wow, that was so fucking cool. And so I'm like 21, I'm in LA, I'm with my producer, Paul Northfield, I'm like chilling with the suicidal tendencies, and I'm on a Hollywood red carpet at like the, what's that B word? What's that B word? At some fancy hotel, okay, where this whole event is taking place. At the time, I had a huge crush on Seth Rogan. And I was walking this
What was it about Seth Rogan?
I don't know.
Just a pause for a second.
Funny guy.
Yeah.
Funny guy.
Okay, funny guy.
You know, the ladies love comedy. They love a guy that can make them laugh.
True.
At the time, it was Seth Rogan for me. He just really did it for me.
I mean, you went into a spot, you look down, you're like, I'm Seth Rogan. I'm thinking about Seth Rogan. Oh, that laugh.
Yeah, so I just remember being on the red carpet at this award, and I remember someone touching my hair. And I'm like looking behind me, and it's Amy Adams. And she was touching my hair, and she was like, wow, your hair's just so beautiful. Is that natural?
Were you kind of like at first like, who the fuck is touching my hair?
Yeah.
Or kind of like...
I don't like being touched.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Like, just it's an awkward thing. Like,
well, at first I thought it was
you,
some dude.
Yeah.
Usually is. But it was Amy Adams, and I was just like in awe. And then we go into this dinner/ceremony event thing, and Seth Rogan is the host. Yeah.
No way.
And I'm sitting...
How many times did you change your underwear?
Oh, I wasn't wearing any. That shit was dripping down my leg. 21-year-old
yeah,
wetness.
I was supposed to say that. And this is like the guy that you find hot. Like you literally...
That shit's a river.
Yeah, I was about to say like you must have been freaking out. Like how did this girl from a fucking farm did that like because I'm hearing the story and I'm like, how the fuck did this girl from the Laurentians, not in a bad way, but like she's like living at a certain point, like I'm sure this was kind of like the dream.
Yeah.
I guess at that point.
Yeah. We've all had little moments in our life where you're like, oh my God, I made it. This is it. This is it. This is it. Yeah. And then here I am.
No. Oh, thanks. Thanks. Wow.
You didn't let me finish.
Here I am.
But then I'm going to leave today and be like...
I want you to edit this part. This you have to like, we're going to make an ad out of this one. And then here I am.
Rock me like a hurricane. Yeah, no, but that was one of those moments. And then I remember they had this extravagant dinner, and then lo and behold, it was a room filled with like circular tables. Okay. And the table across from mine was Quentin Tarantino's.
No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I hate you right now.
It was crazy. And
then my God.
Seth Rogan walked off the stage, and we were at a table right beside the carpet that leads out through the front doors. And I remember I conveniently got up.
Just randomly. You happen to do the rub.
I'm like shaking remembering this. I like got up because I was like, okay, he's coming. Like I'm going to position myself where he has to literally like excuse himself to get by me.
You're like a fucking linebacker trying to block him.
So I'm just like taking up as much room as possible, trying to like, okay, I'm going to pull out my chair and try and conveniently look as if I'm looking for something. And then he had to be like, excuse me. And I'm like, oh my God, hey, huge fan. And he's like, hey, I'm about to go outside and smoke this spliff. Like, want to join?
No way. Yeah. Get the fuck out of here. I'm not believing this anymore.
It's crazy,
All of this, no.
And I said no because I was so nervous.
You said no to smoking a J with Seth Rogan, the guy that you found super
My
hot.
cousin was freaking out. She's like, go.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I'll see you out there or whatever. And then I just never went. I went to the bathroom and thought I was going to like puke and have diarrhea. And so I just never went.
So you...
But I spoke to him.
That's amazing.
I spoke to him and he kind of bumped into me and grazed my thigh.
I'm just saying it happened. Wow.
So, yeah, super fun. And so all of that was happening at 21. And then I got back home.
Why? How come you had to come back home? Just like visa shit, or was
no,
it like...
No, we were just there for the festival.
Oh, okay.
We were just there for the festival, and conveniently my producer, Paul, was going to be there with the band and wanted to introduce me and see if we could make anything happen and all that stuff. Of course, nothing really happens of it, but it was all really, really cool. And we were nominated for the award, but we didn't win the award. Les Miserables with Anne Hathaway, obviously, won the award.
What evs, man?
Yeah, and then I came back to Montreal and worked at a Subway sandwich place.
I was just about to ask you.
Yeah.
How was the transition when you got back?
Really shitty.
Man, I'm not gonna say this in a shitty way, but fuck, it must be tough to come back home.
Yeah, I got a job on Sherbrooke Street in Decarie, in NDG, at the subway station right there, and was selling hash and selling sandwiches.
At least it was hash.
It was a nice little hash business I had going on there. Yeah. I'd like tuck the hash underneath the food trays.
You're
and
like,
then they'd
you want a
give
12
me-
inch or 6 inch,
they'd
and
give
then
me
you
a
wink, you know,
tip,
like, okay.
But it was really the payment for the hash. It was
Amazing.
Yeah. Started smoking cigarettes.
Everything went downhill. Once I went to Subway, life was...
Yeah, but it was really cool. And even before this whole Hollywood thing happened, I told you I left home at 17. And
Yeah.
at 19, I left Canada for the first time by myself because I had gotten this gig with this German boy band. And they invited
Yo,
me.
This is amazing. I swear to God, I don't think I could have put this shit. I can't make this shit up. You're talking about like potentially smoking weed with Seth Rogan, in nominated for movies. Fucking, I'm blanking. Paul, what's his last name again?
Northfield.
Like guys that worked with like Rush and a bunch of all these bands. A hash dealer at Subway, and now you are in what, a boy band from Germany?
At 19, I left home
And this is all by 20. This is amazing.
Yeah, before 20, I told you I went to John Abbott College. John Abbott College is a huge hub for, oh my God, I was going to say extraterrestrial students.
There's
word
an
I'm
interesting
looking for.
registration program at John Abbott College right now.
For a lot of students abroad
Yes.
and a lot of Germans.
Extraterrestrials, also known.
Students. Yeah, so I met this German boy, and he was really into like EDM and like the electronic music scene, and we became really good friends. He went back to Germany. We stayed pen pals. His band in Germany got famous.
They always do. There's
I was
something
like, what
about
the
Germany that
fuck?
like, if it's anything a bit off and it's from Berlin, it's on fire.
Like, what the hell? So I remember teaching this guy guitar chords, like on the field, like at John Abbott, being like, okay, this is a C, this is a G. You're great.
He's never gonna make it.
Yeah, and then he goes back to Germany. His band called César,
Always intense.
Zarr. I don't think they're a thing anymore. But they got like their moment of fame.
Yeah.
And they were on like this whole European tour, and they were playing
Wow.
the Berlin Melt Festival and everything. And he's like, Jess, I want you to be like our backing vocals. I want to do some stuff with you. Join me on tour. And he flies
Join me
out.
on the tour.
Yeah, he
You're
flew
like,
me
what
out.
the fuck is going on over here?
Like, I had no one do anything for me at that point. I
Yeah.
had never left my hometown besides, I thought I was in the big city, and it was John Abbott.
Yeah.
Like, I was in St.
You
Anne
must
de
have
Bellevue.
buzzed when you went to Berlin.
So I was like leaving for the first time home, and it was an all paid expense trip. Like, their tour, man, everything was paid for.
Wow.
They were just having me along for the ride.
So how long were you on tour with them?
I was there for like a month.
Nice. Okay, so
Yeah.
at least a good like 30 days of like that experience. It's a good 30-day
I did
experience.
so many festivals, but the one that really stood out was the Berlin Melt Festival, where I think we were with Plants and Animals, like all these bands that I like really enjoy now that I actually had no idea who the fuck they were at the
I'm
time.
sure it's always like that.
I was just back there with a bunch of, scrawny musicians, just again pinching myself, like, what am I doing here? Oh my God, they probably think I'm like
But now are you
sleeping
thinking
with the band or
Yeah.
something, some Band-Aid like Penny Lane situation.
What a good movie, by the way.
Love it.
I love that. Almost
too.
Famous is such
Yeah.
a good movie.
Yeah.
Like I could watch that movie every year, like once a year, and I
Same.
could just watch it
I
and
love
enjoy
it.
it.
It's genius.
But are you thinking like at this point, I'm fucking 21 years old or whatever it is, all this is happening, it's all going exactly as planned. Mm-hmm. Like, what are your thoughts in like, because did you even, like you had vision making it big,
Yeah.
everyone does, but no one can verbalize what big is or it is.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're doing all these things, which is kind of it.
Yeah.
In a sense, like in a sense, like most people would be thinking you've made it. And so now, like you're going on this German tour, and then it ends 30 days later. Is there another thing that kind of continued that process that made you believe I got to keep going?
I mean, I've always, from a very young age, was very stubborn about this, about who I am and what I'm going to do with my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I could have done anything. I could have really done anything. And but there's always been one road for me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, the hardest road to take.
Yeah.
But it's all I want to do
Mm-hmm.
with my life. I can't do anything else. Okay, I don't want to sound dramatic or anything. Fucking kill
It was
myself.
getting to the drama. I was like,
I can't. I
Yeah.
don't want to die miserable. I'm miserable enough as it is doing what I love.
That's a great line, though. Honestly, but it's a great fuck. But it's such a battle, though. It is like, and I feel you because I know that there's half of me that does things I don't want to do, but I have to do those to do the things I want to do.
Of course.
And I feel like with age, that's kind of like the balance of the two, where without one, the other one is not going to be as enjoyable because then it becomes super stressful.
Yeah.
That it has to work and I'm fucked. But
Yeah.
in one way, I feel like I'm kind of cheating myself a bit because I'm only half there.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't know. Do you have this like constant back and forth about that, or is it you've kind of dealt with it?
I had a quarter life crisis, I think,
Quarter
nearing
life.
nearing the pandemic at around
Yeah.
20. Like I knew the company was in over their head with these projects, and we were super lucky we got the partnerships that we did and the funding that we did in California. Like I got to work with the LA Lakers and like interview them, and it was so crazy. Got to work with the LA Comedy Store and the Laugh Factory and
Oh,
some of like
amazing.
my favorite comics in the world who I'm still in touch with today. What the fuck? And I knew it was all going to come crashing down, as all of these great things in my life always have. You know, it's always too good to be true. And so when it finally did come crashing down, like I told myself, like, okay, I put way too much pressure on myself to make this be the thing that will propel me for the rest of my life. When we know, Jess, it never is, and it always comes crashing down. And so not necessarily to like have a backup plan, but to just not put so much fucking pressure on myself.
Yeah.
That it's gonna be okay regardless. If it works out, wow, it works out. If it doesn't work out, you kind of knew it wasn't gonna work out.
Well, you see, like it's funny because
Not to be
no, but
like a
it's-
pessimist.
But I was about to say that. Why look at it from, and I totally, I'm with you on everything you just said. And then that last line, I was like, but why would you want to say, but you knew it wouldn't work out? Like I'm not questioning
Yeah.
you, but you know what I'm saying? Like it could be like, why is it not? I still had fun doing it. You know, like it's
know.
like we always, but it's a
It's
natural
self-programming.
It's self-programming. I have the same feeling too. And that's why when I hear someone say it, I'm like, oh man, don't look at it that way. But then I hear myself saying the
Yeah.
exact same line. So when it's someone else, it's always great advice you can give. But then with yourself, you kind of revert back to that.
It's just the story I've told myself since forever, you know? So it's hard to deprogram yourself from like, oh, of course this is happening to you. Of course you didn't get the part. Of course you didn't make it all the way through on La Voix. Of course this didn't, of course you're not famous. Of course you're not good enough. And then that way, if I set myself up for disappointment, when it eventually or evidently doesn't happen, I'll be like, okay.
Told you. I kind of knew it.
I can't be upset about this. In the back of my head, I already knew it wasn't going to happen.
Have you ever tried not?
Exactly. So this is what I'm trying to do now. Instead of setting myself up for failure
Yeah.
and putting that negative energy into the universe,
Yeah.
I'm trying to really reverse that.
It's hard.
Because, like, I don't know, my whole algorithm on Instagram and TikTok now is like, ooh, manifestation
Oh, and it gets
and
fucking
positive
annoying after a while.
energy. And I'm like, and they swear by it. They're like, if
Yeah.
you put good juju out into the world, it will come back to you. And I'm like, I really want this for me.
Yeah.
But then I feel like mixed in with my good energy, positivity vibes, there's like desperateness. And I feel like the universe can sense my disparity. Like, this bitch wants this way too bad.
Yeah, she wants to be happy so much that I'm gonna fuck that up. You know, but I hear you because I find, you know, like even when you see all the stuff of like be happy and all that stuff, I get it, and there's an element that I do buy in it a lot more than I used to. But I also like feel like sometimes the overkill of it, like just makes you say, oh, stop
Yes.
giving me another video
Yes.
of how to better myself. Like sometimes I'm just gonna feel like shit, and it's okay.
Yes.
I just like I kind of came up with this is my like model now.
Ooh, do tell.
Do tell. Okay, I'm into the secret life of Stefano. Just try to minimize the amount of days I feel like shit.
Yeah.
Like literally, that's it. So if I see something is bothering me now, like I kind of made this deal with myself.
Okay.
This is the deal that I make, is that I'm allowed to feel like shit about this topic for like up to 7 days. But once it hits 7 days, you have to do something different. Like physically, like so if let's say something is really bothering me, I don't know, it's day 7, just go for a fucking really long run. Like it doesn't have to be something to solve that problem, but just do something that you know makes you feel good. And that ever since I kind of had that model kind of in place, I feel like I'm able to just jump out of that funk faster.
you need to do like I wish
Something.
there was some sort of like tapping code on my body
Yeah.
to be like brain rewired, like
But it's just-
reposition yourself, pivot.
Yeah, pivot.
Yeah.
But it's like, but I feel like the reason why is because then those things like seep into all your other stuff, and then all of a sudden you don't want to write a song anymore.
Yeah,
Or you don't
yeah.
feel like it's seeing your boyfriend. Or
Yeah,
you don't
you're
wanna,
right. It really seeps
and then it
into
seeps
everything.
into everything else. So I
Yeah.
know that I have like a timeline internally that then it gets really hard to get rid of that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I need to kill it as fast, not kill the feeling, but just move something differently to just grab some attention and put my
Yeah.
focus on something else so I could realize maybe it's not so bad.
Because it'll snowball.
Oh,
And if you
yeah.
have anxiety like I do, like a lot of people do,
Yeah.
it'll become like an anxious cycle
Exponential.
of like, and then it becomes your whole world.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you don't want that.
No.
So yeah.
But okay, so I know we kind of went through all kinds of stuff here. Mm-hmm. And then you said you picked up a guitar. Well, just pretend as though like we just finished. You picked up a guitar and you dusted stuff off it.
Oh yes, good callback. Wow, I remember that day. I remember it was the end of my relationship, okay? I remember I was feeling some kind of way and I was like sexting with people on the internet.
You were on that road.
Yeah,
It's a good road though.
whatever. It was.
For that period, it's a good road. You
Yeah.
need it. Okay. We're
I
cool.
just needed the validation.
Yes.
And wrote a few songs, and I was really just like in my jam room, man. If you could just see the layout of my apartment right now, because my ex at the time was playing Overwatch on the PlayStation. That's all he did, really. And
I love the little sneak in mine, and that's all he did, really.
and I was in the next room just trying to make use of myself again, because
Yeah.
I again had just come off this huge high of being in California
Yeah.
and working with the Lakers to then losing my job. I was on EI in a cold jam room that has not been used in 2 years with a guitar that was probably is in as big of a depression as I was. So we needed some mutual love in there. And so I tried to make that happen. And, you know, yeah, I built these little songs and these little stories. And what happened after that? Yeah, I finally broke up with my ex. And 3 weeks after the breakup, moved to the Plateau and started my new venture in the Plateau on Rivard, right next to you.
Not too fun.
And was there for like a good 3.5 years. And finally was in the studio at that time, like putting these songs down, like
Yeah.
laying them down, structuring them. And that was really, really cool. Played a few shows, got back together with my band from Toronto, and it was really cool. Did a few festivals, played Jazz Fest one year. That was really cool. And yeah, I just got my groove back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really just got my groove back, and then I told myself, like, okay, I got to go back to music. I got to go back to music. Like, yeah, it's really cool that there was a certain time in my life where I thought all I could ever do was music, and if I wasn't going to make it as that, I didn't know what I was going to do with my life. Like, I wasn't really good at a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like,
No, I
I
feel
wasn't
you.
good at a lot of things, but I was really good at this one thing.
Yeah.
And I had validation from that. And so
For
it
so
was
long, you had
really
validation
fucking
too.
depressing when you're like, fuck, I'm not going to make it. And so I really found that, yeah, I had done, like I said, like I found other ways to entertain myself, and I found other things that I was good at.
Yeah.
And so I knew at that point coming out of the pandemic that music wasn't going to be the end all be all of my life. And there was definitely more to live for. And at that point I had like my chosen family, like I had built really close friendships, friends of mine who have been my friends for over 10, 15 years now, really backing me up because I don't go back home much. I see my family maybe once, twice a year.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's how the EP really got together. And
Well, that's amazing. That's it.
I found myself maybe a year and a half ago. Again, I had worked in cinema. Sorry, I've done so many fucking jobs. I had a burnout working on this huge Disney movie called The Naughty Nine. I was working like insane hours as a set PA. If any of you guys know what a set PA is, you know it's just brutal. It's like 4 a.m. call times, and you're working like 16, 17-hour days sometimes.
Man, movies sound fun till you actually hear what's behind the movies. Like, and people would tell me that too. Oh, you do commercials and shit. And like, yeah, the
Commercials are fine.
Yeah, but they still take like 7 hours.
Yeah, more.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's
More.
like it's a 30-second ad, and it takes like 7 to 10. It's a full day of like nonstop set and all this shit. So a movie, I can't even imagine if you're actually part of it and not an extra.
They're usually like 3-4 month projects.
Intense every day.
Yeah, and being a part of the film crew, it's thankfully you're paid well if you're lucky.
Yeah.
And you're unionized, which I am. Yeah. But if you're a PA, being like a PA, like a daily PA, is absolute horse trash. Horse trash?
I don't know. I never knew that there was trash from a horse.
But I was a set PA, so
Okay.
I was managing.
So
a
what kind of
team.
trash would you call that?
I mean, I still have to have like a 4 a.m. call time,
Yeah,
and we're
so
done
it's
at
still
like
some
7
sort of
p.m.
trash,
It's
but not
horrible.
horse trash.
But at least I get to delegate tasks to people. Like
Okay.
you change the garbage. The actor wants a mocha frappuccino oat with,
You actually go run the duty. Like you can, in a sense, you have.
I can delegate.
You can delegate.
I
it
can
all,
tell
exactly.
my minions to go do all of these things, and I get to like sit there. And then as a set PA, you're also the one that's like quiet on set,
Okay.
rolling. We hear the lights in the background.
I would
I
love
told
if
you-
somebody would fuck around. You're a loser.
Yeah.
And you just-
Because everyone has walkies,
Yeah.
so you can talk trash so
I would
much.
be talking trash. They'd fire me.
But you have to be careful on which channel you're on.
Yeah, exactly.
on
I
the
know I would
walkie.
fuck up on the wrong channel. Tell someone, like the director, to like kiss my ass or something.
Yeah. Like usually the directors are on what, channel 3 or something. Like not the PAs, the assistant directors and all the script writer and all those people, script supervisors and stuff. Yeah, there was one time where I was delegating, like, I told you to switch off the light. We can hear the buzzing of the light. And I was on channel 3.
No.
All the producers were able to hear
Did they
me.
laugh
They're like,
after that?
Channel 5, Jess.
Channel.
Oh, sorry.
You're like, oh fuck. But
Yeah.
anyways, yeah.
Whatever. I was on a burnout from that. And this was just a couple years ago. And I was on LinkedIn and I saw that this co-working space was looking for, like, I don't know, I just wanted something really easy. For the first time in my fucking life, I was like, I want a 9 to 5. I think I want a day job.
You need a checkout almost.
I think I want a day job because I had been like entrepreneurial, just gigging, just doing
a salary.
gigs.
I just need a salary right now.
Yeah, I needed stability. I'm like, okay, bitch, you're in your 30s. You don't have a savings account. You've been living life. I mean, traveled the fucking world.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Like, so many stories under my belt. Like, I lived a crazy life, and I'm just 32. But I don't have money. I don't have money at all. And know how to spend whatever money I did have. So, yeah, I needed a job. And so this co-working space, they were looking for like a receptionist.
Yeah.
And I was their last interview. And already I'm like, they're not going to fucking hire me, I don't have experience. I've never been a receptionist before. And they called me back and they're like, we want you.
You're the one.
You're the one. You could learn reception stuff, but we want someone who's more than a receptionist.
Yeah.
We want someone to be the face of the space.
Yeah.
And they had just started the co-working space. They were barely a year in.
Which one is it?
On Wellington Street.
Okay, this is
in
on Wellington,
Verdun,
okay.
Yeah, called Spatial. It's the only one of its kind. It's some real estate company. They own a bunch of residential and commercial
Okay.
buildings. They wanted to just convert one into a co-working. And they're like, you can do the bare minimum and get paid the minimum salary we're willing to offer you, or you can just run with this and make this your home. Turn it into whatever you want.
Oh, that's
We
pretty cool.
trust
In
you.
one way, it's kind of like you have an opportunity.
Yeah. So I at first was like, getting my bearings on how to be a receptionist. And then I really got the hang of it and turned the space into an event space, comedy club. Like, we have really cool members. And I went from like administrative whatever to like operations manager of the building.
Yeah. But now, okay, so now you have this like other side of this like 9 to 5 side.
And I never thought in my life that I would be like a senior or manager of anything.
Yeah.
Anything in my life. I never thought. I thought the best I could do was make a bomb-ass sandwich at Subway's. And like,
So how do you feel about yourself? Like, do you feel Like, oh, I'm not gonna direct the question. How do you feel about this?
I never thought I'd be good at something other than the entertainment industry. Like I always thought I was a show pony or like a stage monkey or whatever you want to call it, like a fucking circus freak. And I'm okay with that because I thought that's all I was good at is just like turning it on and then
Yeah.
going back home and just fucking bawling my eyes out. Because that's what giving that
Yeah.
much energy
Yeah,
does
it
to
drains you.
You know, I love using my battery in public spaces and being on stage and either being in front of the camera or behind the camera or, you know, being on stage with my giant acoustic guitar that's too big for my body. I really love that.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I could do anything else, but it really made me, because I've been fired, man, from so many jobs.
You're just fucking selling hash at Subway, of course.
I've been fired from so many jobs. I've been in the gaming industry. I've been a gaming tester. I've been fired from so many jobs. I was like, cool, that's fine because I'm not good at these jobs and I don't want to be good at these jobs. This is not what I want to do with my life. But I found a cool niche with this co-working space where I can turn that space into whatever I want, and I'm at a stage in my life where I want to be able to offer really cool services to artists. Like I want to have a space that fuels creative energy, a space that I didn't have when I was younger.
Don't you feel that now, like, I was obsessed with music, same thing. Like, if I wasn't on stage, there's no reason to be in music.
Yeah.
Like, there was no negotiations. I didn't want to, I didn't even care about any other position in the concept of music outside of being the guitarist in a rock band that made it on tour. Like, this was what I wanted.
That defines you.
That is who I am.
Yeah.
And when that didn't happen, it's like, I don't know anything anymore. I am a lost case. I'm going to always just kind of in some way or another not enjoy life. Like, it was kind of like, I'm just always going to feel like I never made it. And I'm always going to be that guy that is, you know, and it's that weird feeling. Like, but then I ended up walking, same thing like you. It was like, I walked into, I remember the media world and all this stuff. And it allowed me to kind of have this persona. Like I'm still on, like you get the same feeling of being on stage.
It triggers the same skill sets and the same energy.
And creating ideas, and we would talk we'd be in a boardroom, which I always thought was the worst thing in the world. And we'd be talking about these fucking cool ideas for these ads and thinking of all these different concepts. And then we'd be on stage, on set to produce these ads. And I just said, wait a minute, like I feel like, did I lie to myself that you can't?
Yeah,
like
you
it's
did.
like it's only this that could trigger that feeling. And then once I kind of said, no, dude, like it's not just music. You can actually trigger these feelings in so many outlets that you were actually a bit like blind to reality in one sense, which is great because sometimes you need that to drive you. And then at a certain point, it becomes like a really like bad drive. And you're like, how do I get off this road?
Yeah.
Like, it's really bad.
I get off this train.
I gotta get off this train. I gotta get off this fucking road. And then when I started finding like those things, it was like, holy shit, like this is one of them. Like, this is an avenue for me that I always enjoy, like good conversation and, you know, and whatever. And why not start a podcast and do it, you know? And then so it's like this co-working space is like, it's allowing you, it seems like it, to be you at a place that is like, and people I don't think companies realize that if you would actually do that more, you would have people that would love to come to work. Well, not like love, like you really like it, but sometimes you even love it.
Yeah.
To the point where it's helping like this internal endorphin that if you're creative, you need it. You need it out of your body. You cannot keep it there because it doesn't know how to control itself almost.
No. Yeah, I really love that they felt comfortable to give me like carte blanche and just give me the reins.
Yeah.
I don't know why they did to this day. They could have hired someone with a professional resume, you know, that could do the work needed. But I'm really learning that anyone can anyone can do it.
Well, but it's always, everything's like that. Like,
I think they wanted someone who could
bring something different to the table, right?
bring the space alive.
But now in contrast to the music, right? Because you have this thing that's like allowing you to kind of have your own world in one sense, and then you're still doing the music at the same time.
Yeah.
This record's being released or already released January 26th. What are you kind of looking forward to when it comes to the music side of it, though? Like, we're not looking forward to an expectation-wise, but like, do you have any plans already in motion for this as some kind of like a next step?
Yeah, so I'll probably once the EP is out, the single is already out. Stream it on all digital platforms. Undertones.
Yeah, I was gonna say the title. I forgot. I remember you. I remember Undertones, but the album is called something else though.
Diary of a Flame.
There's a hands on fire there.
Man, I had a friend of mine. We're both like dairy freaks. You know, bitches love cheese.
Bitches love cheese.
It's a thing. It really is. I don't know what it is. Super highly addictive. And my friend got back to me and she thought that the album name was Dairy of a Flame.
She's like, it makes sense.
Oh, man. I hope people don't read it as such, but the words are very
Marketing,
close.
You're like, fuck, did I just make a mistake?
I mean, if more memes come out making fun of it, that's, no publicity is bad publicity. But so I'll be probably doing an album launch in March.
Nice.
And I've already got, the press and the marketing and the email list already. And I know as far as expectations, I've learned now to not have many.
Yeah.
And so I'm not being a pessimist, but I'm being a realist. Like, I'm doing this for me.
Yeah.
I think that this is some of the best music I've ever done. I'm really happy, obviously, with the collaborations I've done with Stephen Voice. We collaborate quite frequently together, and I really love the stuff that's come out. But it's gotten to the point that I'm looking at my Spotify, like top, your top songs that show up. It's all me and Stephen Voice. And so I think it's due time that I have my next project come out, and I'm just super stoked about it. All of them are really meaningful. They came at a really kind of pivotal point in my life. The ending of a 10-year relationship is just like a lot for anybody, but for also the end of like a crazy career, the start of a new one. It was all just like, this project is really the eye of the tornado.
That's
like
awesome.
Everything was kind of just going on around it, and I was able somehow to center myself within it all, the chaos of it all. And this is the fruit of that. And so I'm really excited for people to hear it and let me know what they think. Jordan Barillero, my really good friend Jordan, who we used to play music together back in the Abbott days. He was in a band called Phenomenon, but now he's a really good sound engineer.
Okay.
He's the one who mixed this project. I would have only trusted him with this, as he knows my voice probably better than I do. And Freck Shop, Dave mastered the project, and I'm just so happy with it.
Yeah,
I'm really stoked about it.
I could see it. You went into like La La Land talking about it, which is fucking. You could always tell when someone's passionate about a project. The way they speak about it, it says a lot. I don't even need to hear the album. I could tell that you really put time and effort into it, because the way someone talks about it is just obvious, and like hopefully people can feel. I felt it like here in the room. Hopefully, if somebody's watching, or listening, they can feel like that there is a lot of like passion that went into this, and just like time and effort. Like it felt real, It
was very real. I mean, it's not, again, it's like a folk indie alternative album. It doesn't matter. It's not for everybody, but if you're into that genre, you're gonna love this.
I find, I know we're coming to the end of it, but when you talk genres, right?
Yeah.
I've always been a person like, I love a ton of genres.
Same.
The only thing I don't like is when it sounds fake.
Same.
So
overly produced.
Yeah, overly produced. But even like something that you could see that someone is really passionate about, and it sounds fake, I'm okay with that, because they're really passionate about. Like, I'm not a fan of the genre, but I actually enjoy something that people just.
If it's good, it's good.
And good is like that subjective thing. But I like seeing someone that really thinks this is their best. Yeah. How could you not appreciate that?
Same.
Like, that to me is what I like about
I'm of
any
the
type
same
of artist.
ilk. I do believe that as well.
So look, I just want to say, like, honestly, I know it took like multiple attempts to make this happen.
I know.
But
sorry,
I'm so
Stef.
happy. I'm so happy it happened. Like, I had a great fucking time. Honestly, I had a really good time.
Me too, man. You're a really good conversationalist.
I guess I would. That sounds like a great word. I'll leverage that.
Yeah, you're absolutely fantastic. If you guys haven't sat down with Stef yet, if you're a creative or an entrepreneur, or I don't know what kind of people you like to interview on this thing, but
people that are passionate about what they do.
You're in for a treat.
You're in. Good. Thank you. I really appreciate it. For everyone like that's watching or listening, check out the new album, the EP. Is there, so what would you suggest they find, like profile, like you want them to go to Instagram? Do you want them to go to Spot? Like, is there certain places you want to direct anybody?
Actually, that's a great point. I last year lost my main account, man.
What happened?
Sucked.
I know we're getting to the end, but what happened here?
On my birthday.
No.
Yeah, they pulled it on my 31st birthday. I don't know. I know of a lot of people who have lost their account because of that. I don't know what the hell it was, but and it's still active. Yeah. That's what's weird.
Okay. I thought I was going crazy because I went on your account.
Yeah.
And then I see like lost my account, and then I see the other account, and then I go onto it, and I'm like, it's here. Why? Like, I'm just like, you found it.
Yeah. So my account is still active.
Okay.
At Jess Abran. I can't for the life of me log in. I can't have access to the account. It hasn't been hacked, not that I know of. Otherwise, you'd know.
Have you contacted Meta?
I've contacted everyone. Facebook, Meta, customer. I finally found customer support where I was able to talk to a real person. And over 5 calls and 5 attempts, every single time I've had the people say, "Oh, this is a technical issue and not like a customer support issue, and we don't have tech support."
Okay, that fucking sucks.
Bullshit. Yeah, so that like fucking ruined me for a while because I was getting a bunch of like I had like brand partnerships and stuff.
Yeah, I was about to say that because I'm sure because it's a pretty like big account. Like
I was getting,
when
like,
I got onto it, I'm like, why would she switch out? So I was like, there's got to be some sort of story.
Yeah,
don't fucking talk to me about this thing.
Definitely wasn't my choice.
Yeah. So
but
Instagram.
Yeah,
so we got to get everyone to come on this new.
So it'd be really
now.
cool if through and another cool talk about like the blimp in the lifeline thing there, but like lost my account, right? 30,000 followers, a lot of passive income and brand partnerships and stuff gone on my birthday. And then start a new account. And then within a few months of starting my new account, Instagram decided to verify me. And then because I only have like 1,000 followers, I got DMs of like, "Oh, you bought your Meta verified." I'm like, no, if you know me, you know I would never.
Yeah.
But what's the point?
Yeah, but what a crazy like wow that but you
and
know
like,
I think what burns
Instagram.
it the most is like the fucking birthday, like on the birthdays.
Yeah.
Look, I'm sorry to that sucks. I'm really sorry about that.
Yeah, it sucks. So it would be really cool if.
So we got to get you back on your account, like this new account.
Yeah.
Everybody go there.
Yeah, I don't care about my old account anymore.
Yeah.
Like I want to, if I could delete it now, I would. So that people don't get confused.
Yeah.
Because now it's Jess.Abran with the verified check now. So you can hopefully tell the difference. So yeah, I just wish the other one didn't exist anymore because it's getting a lot of like misdirected traffic and it's so annoying. But yeah, so for any projects that are coming out, please go through my new Instagram account, the verified one at jess.abran. And that would be great. The EP will be called Diary, Not Dairy, of a Flame. That'll be out in February. And please be on the lookout for all my launch party and all the new stuff that's going on in my life.
Cool. And let me know. I'll repost. I do that with all the guests too. Like if they have something, like honestly, send it over. Even though like we're doing this episode, doesn't mean that it stops and I don't give a shit either. You know what I mean? It's like, send it over. I want people to know, especially with the guests that come on. So
very cool.
Thank you so much.
Love what you're doing.
Thanks,
Stef.
Yeah. That's it. We're done.
Sweet.
Awesome.
Wow. That was cool.
Hey, thanks for checking out the show. It's been awesome working on this project. And if you like it, tell a friend. And if you want to support the show, you can by 1, subscribing and liking our YouTube channel at the DMW Podcast. 2, you can go to our website and sign up to our mailing list at the dmwpodcast.com. And 3, you can follow us on Instagram at the DMW Podcast. Thanks again for all of your support. My name is Stef, and this is the Dead Man Walking Podcast.